Hello and welcome to another episode of RentReady with Stephenson's, where we will cover the general application, operating procedures, and safe handling of our tools and equipment. Today, we are going to spotlight our line of SDS Max Demolition hammers. Before we start our job, we're going to want to make sure that we've got the correct PPE. Always a good pair of safety glasses or goggles, a good pair of work gloves, some ear protection, either in the form of an earmuff or a good set of earplugs. We want something for dust control, either an N95 mask at minimum or a respirator, especially when dealing with concrete dust, and a good pair of CSA work boots, as well as any other site-specific PPE that may be required. At Stephenson's, we carry 3 different size units in our SDS Max hammer line. We carry the 10 pound, the 20 pound, and the 25 pound. All 3 units have the same SDS Max chuck. They all have the Vari-Lock system to adjust the alignment of your chisels, and they all have the speed control. The 10 pound and the 25 pound are equipped with the vibration control handle to reduce user fatigue. On the front of the hammer, we've got our chuck. We've also got the Vari-Lock system. You've got your adjustable D handle. We've got our on-off switch on the back of the machine. We've also got our speed control on the side. So for different types of steel, you're going to operate at different speeds. Let's go ahead and take a look at the steel that's available for them. So first, we've got our ground rod driver. We'll accept anything up to a 3/4 inch tent spike or ground rod, perfect for driving into sand or compacted soil. Run right up to number 6 on your hammer. Next, we have the bushing tool, usually used for removing lines or any residue left over from forming. Also great for roughing up concrete before you do any reparging. Again, you're going to run this on a number 3 on your hammer. Next, we have the scaling chisel, perfect for removing ceramic tile. You're going to run this on number 3 on your hammer. Next, we have our point and chisel. These are for breaking concrete. Run them right up to number 6 on your hammer. Next, we have our clay spade, perfect for trenching in hard soils or compacted clay. You're going to run this on number 3 on your hammer and avoid any hard materials. Next, we've got our asphalt spade, great for doing any small repairs in asphalt, edging a driveway, or doing some trenching. You can run this up to number 3 on your hammer, and again, no hard materials. And lastly, we've got our floor tool, perfect for removing vinyl tile, linoleum, or any type of mastic or waterproofing. Again, number 3 on your hammer, and avoid any hard materials. So now that we've gone over our types of steel, let's take a look at doing a little quick inspection on our steel before we use it. First thing we want to check is that our edge is still good, whether or not it's a solid edge or whether it's a blade on a floor tool. We want to check for any cracking along the edges. Then we also want to check and make sure that our bolts are tight. Then check for any cracks that may be located down the shaft. We then want to check our SDS and make sure that it's clean and that there's no clipping. If it shows excessive wear, you're going to want to take it out of service and replace it. Okay, so let's do the pre-use inspection on our demolition hammer. The first thing we're going to do is check and make sure that our chuck moves freely up and down. Then we're going to check and make sure that our Vari-Lock is able to be lifted up and turned freely. Then we're going to check our D handle. So you can loosen the knob off on the handle, lift up, and you can turn, make sure it rotates 360 degrees. The next thing we want to check is our speed control on the side of the unit. We want to make sure that it's free moving from 1 to 6. Next, we'll check the on-off switch on the back of the unit. Make sure that it moves freely left and right. Then we'll move on to inspecting the cord. So at this point, we're going to want to make sure that we run our hand down the cord, feeling for any nicks or frays inside the cord, all the way to the plug. And once we get to the plug, we're checking to see if there's any scorching or burning on any of the prongs. If it's equipped with a ground plug, make sure the ground plug is intact. So next we'll move on to installing the steel in the unit. Before we do, let's set our D handle for our operating position. We're going to lift up and lock in place, tightening the knob. And I'm right-handed, so I'll be grabbing this D handle with my left hand. That's my most comfortable position. So then we can go ahead and grab a piece of steel. And typically what we would do here is we'd add a daub of grease to the back of the chisel. Because all the hammers from Stephenson's are pre-greased, we don't need to do that in this situation. What we are going to do is just drop the chisel down into place, turn and rotate until it locks in place and push down firmly. At this point, we can also change the angle of our steel by lifting up on the Vari-Lock and loading it into the exact position you want. And this works on a 30-degree increment. Next, I'm going to want to plug the unit in, and we can go ahead and turn our on switch on. You're going to notice that the hammer's not going to move right away. What you need to do is apply pressure to the material that you're breaking, and that's when you're going to start to see the impact. So once the job is finished, all we need to do is reverse the procedure. We're going to pull back on the collar to release the steel and just lift straight out. We can then again loosen off our D handle and put it back into place and tighten it up. That concludes our spotlight of SDS Max Demolition hammers. Please look forward to joining us for future episodes of Rent Ready with Stephenson's. And remember, safety starts with you, so please stop, think, and act.